Many years ago, I started hearing the term wellness popping up and starting to be used more commonly. And it interested me because I started seeing the term wellness being used improperly, out of context, promoting things that really weren't true wellness. And I started to see a problem developing in the community, and that being confusion of what wellness really is. I went to a lecture about 20 years ago, maybe more, and I heard this doctor speak, and he used a diagram to explain wellness. And I just absolutely fell in love with the idea because it helps you understand the dimensions of it. The three dimensions of what wellness really is and what you can do. This is not going to be a nuts and bolts lecture. This is going to be more philosophical in understanding what wellness really is and what you can do, because it's up to us individually to make decisions about our own wellness. And I think this method is going to help you understand it and give you a better idea of what you can do for yourself, your loved ones, your family. What is wellness? That's the big question. That's what we're going to try to tackle today, and try to figure out how we can apply that in our lives. What is wellness? Is an aspirin a day wellness? Is prescription medication wellness? Having no symptoms, being pain-free, is that wellness? Feeling good, a pedicure, a massage, yoga classes, a lunch and learn. Is that wellness? Rite Aid would like you to believe that wellness might have something to do with taking a pill, because that generates a lot of income. But that's really not wellness. None of these really here are wellness. These are contributors to wellness, some of them, but it's not really wellness. Wellness is an active process of becoming aware of and making choices toward a healthy and fulfilling life. Wellness is more than being free from illness. It is a dynamic process of change and growth. This definition is if you Google wellness, you'll find there's a couple of different definitions. And I was just joking, but this is a more holistic, or what you would call an alternative definition of wellness, which this is what I like. And here's the key: a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. That's World Health Organization. A conscious, self-directed, and evolving process of achieving full potential. So there's no mention of a pedicure, a massage, or a aspirin in that. It's increasing the potential of your being so that you can function optimally. If you Google it, you'll come across this picture frequently. The 8 dimensions of wellness. It's great. We're not going to use it today, but I want you to see that there's, to get your mind going with what you need to think about with breaking wellness down: emotional, environmental, financial, intellectual, occupational, your health, wellness, social, and spiritual. Those are all dimensions of wellness. If we boil it down, we can get it down to 3 basic things, and all 8 of those would fit into that. And that's things that we physically experience, things that we mentally experience, and things that we expose ourselves to. Right now, you are exposing yourself to something: food. Dimensions of wellness in a drawing: physical, chemical, emotional. We'll use those icons throughout the rest of the lecture to help us remember that. 3 dimensions of wellness. Wellness is not static. At this exact moment in time, you're either moving towards wellness or you're moving away from it. You're moving towards death, or you're moving towards a high level of function. You might say, well, that's silly. We're all moving towards death right now. But believe it or not, you can die well. And I don't mean getting hit by a bus. I mean you can live a full life, and you can leave this physical existence in a state of wellness. You don't have to just submit to disease, illness. So our level of wellness is always changing. How can we move toward wellness? First, we have to understand adaptation. Let's take a look at the brain. The brain processes 400 billion bits of information per second. The body sends 11 million bits per second of information from itself back to the brain. That's a lot of data coming in. Yet the conscious mind seems to be able to process only 50 bits per second. Any idea why? You're right, we would go insane. You can't do that. There's too much happening. Some people can more than others. Some people are very, very aware. Some people get a feeling that their cousin Jim is calling them on the phone and the phone rings. That kind of data is floating around in the universe. It's difficult to explain. As some people are more aware of it, some people are less aware of it. But we're protected because the brain and the nervous system, its main function is to adapt us to the environment. For instance, the temperature in this room, we adapt to it by maybe putting a jacket on, but if you didn't have a jacket, your body would adapt to it. It would make some sort of a change because the body's smart and knows that the room isn't warm. I'm not complaining about the room temperature. So the brain and the nervous system must decide what is best to do based on the input from the environment because, like we just said, it's discarding a lot of the information as non-critical. What are some examples besides the room temperature? These are all examples of nervous system adaptation. Fever. Why would the brain decide to have a fever? To kill an infection. Yeah. Data coming into the brain says there's an infection somewhere in the body, and it decides that this particular virus or bacterium is can be damaged by heat, so it raises the fever. Vomit. We've had it happen. It's not pleasant, but it's for a good reason. It's an adaptation. The brain and nervous system is telling the body to do that because something is not right in the stomach. Sleep. Can't stay awake forever. Eventually, your nervous system will lead you to sleep through the autonomic nervous system. Altering pupil size. If you walk outside, your pupils get small because the amount of light coming in is immediately detected. It's too much light. The diameter of the pupil has to go down. Body does that automatically. Goosebumps. What are goosebumps? Goosebumps happen when small microscopic muscles on your skin surface actually tug on the hair and make the hair stand up. You see the little bump as a goosebump. The hair's standing up to keep heat on the surface of your body. That's adaptation. Diarrhea, not pleasant to talk about, but you know darn well your body's getting rid of something and it's doing it fast. And it's doing it when it wants to, not when you want to. Alter muscle tension. Your back is out of place, and your body knows something's not right, so it tenses it up. Now you really can't walk because it's telling you you've got to go do something, right? Or you go to the gym and you hit the weights, and your muscle tension is altered because you have just stressed those muscles, and you do that enough times. Start looking better. Are these reactions considered healthy? Any guesses? Are those unhealthy reactions or healthy reactions?
Healthy.
Healthy reactions. Yes, those are healthy reactions. Does anyone know the word innate? Innate means built in. These are reactions that are built into us. My favorite college example of this is, and I've never done this or would admit to doing it, but if you drank an entire bottle of tequila, you are going to throw up, pass out possibly. Something's not going to be right? But you're probably going to vomit. And that vomiting is completely healthy because your body knows that you have toxified yourself severely. Innate intelligence is the intelligence that keeps your body alive by adapting to an ever-changing environment. If we're born with it, it's built into us. We don't have to think about it. If you cut your finger, you don't have to, every day looking at it and In fact, small side point, it'll heal faster if you don't even look at it. Because you're drawing too much attention to how bad it is. How much can we adapt to? How much can we handle? How high is our potential to adapt? Okay, we have an office scene here. We've got 10 co-workers, cubicles, tight space, a cold virus is going around the office. Everyone in this office is exposed. They all have it. It's in their bloodstream. What happens? 3 people got it. 3 people are out. They missed work. 7 people didn't. What happened? Why did only 3 get sick? This is a cold, not a flu, so there's no shot. There's nothing you can do really proactively other than, wash your hands, get sunlight, take proper vitamins, things like that. But 3 people got it, 7 people didn't get it because 7 people adapted. They adapted. It was in their nervous system. The nervous system knew or their body and the nervous system knew the condition was there, and it fought it off properly. I like to talk about this one a lot, but we'll keep it brief. The flu is not a season. It happens during a season. Here's the reason why it happens. It's the inability to adapt to less sun exposure, decreased water intake, combined with increased sugar, holidays, increased stress. That's what happens. It's really a lifestyle problem. If we were able to avoid or decrease our sugar intake, increase our sun exposure, take vitamin D3, wash our hands, we would greatly reduce the risk of flu. Even if we were exposed to flu, your chances would be much less. I've been in practice 27 years. I've missed 8 days of work. What is our individual ability to adapt, and how can we handle, or how much can we handle? Here comes the fun part, if you like charts. Our general adaptive potential. What does that mean? That means how much can you handle? Okay, let me give you an example. If I throw you, sir, a golf ball, just toss you a golf ball, where are you going to put your hands? I'm going to catch it with 2 hands. Ready? Okay, good. You put your hands together, right? Okay, now, beach ball, big one. I don't know if they sell them this big, but I throw that to you. What do you do with your hands to catch it? You're going to run away. But I'm going to give you $100 if you catch it. So where are your hands going to go? They're going to go out, right? You're going to put your hands wide. You adapted to what? The size of the ball, right? Second scenario. I put a handcuffs on you. Not for my personal gain, just for demonstration purposes. I throw you the golf ball. Can you catch it with the handcuffs on? Yeah. You probably could, huh? A little tricky. But you're gonna make a little move and catch that ball, right? Okay, now here comes the beach ball. What are you gonna do? It's gonna bounce right off your face. Because you can't adapt to it. See? You can't adapt. So take that analogy of your hands, and here we're gonna use this little chart here. General adaptive potential. Generally, how much can you handle? Okay? We're gonna call it GAP. Shorten it up, make it simple. Far apart, high adaptability, right? You can adapt. Awesome. A 5-year-old could climb up on here and jump down, and they wouldn't break anything, would they? What if we put 92-year-old grandma up here and said, jump down? Can't adapt, right? You're gonna break something. Different scenario. Okay, we bring them in. We're reducing our adaptability. This is lower adaptability. What if we put them all the way together? No adaptability. Okay. Now, we're going to move to the second step here. What do we have to adapt to? Well, we talked a little bit about it. And how much do we have to adapt to? Those 3-dimensional elements. I'm going to draw that as a triangle. Physical, chemical, and emotional. These are the basic stresses of life. Physical, chemical, and emotional. Remember in the beginning I said there was 8, but we're going to boil it down to 3? Same thing. If your stresses are low, we're going to draw the triangle small. If they're medium, we're going to draw the triangle big. If they're major, we're going to draw the triangle really big. adaptability and what you have to adapt to, and we're going to put it into a drawing. In the drawing, it's going to represent your current ability to adapt and your current level of overall stress that the individual in the chart is subject to. That's wellness. See you later. So in the drawing here, we see that the adaptability is nice and wide, and the ball or the stresses that the person has to catch is catchable. It's in the middle, right? Does that make sense to everybody? You get the idea, right? Pretty easy. Again, let's be reminded of the definition of wellness: the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. What just happened? The triangle got bigger. The lines came in. The person has a little bit less adaptability. The person has a little bit more physical, chemical, and emotional stress in their life. They are now borderline. But why did I show the definition of wellness again from the World Health Organization? Because this person is symptom-free, but they're on borderline health condition. You've heard sometimes doctors say people are borderline diabetes maybe because their blood sugar or their A1Cs, right on the edge. It's not something you ignore being borderline. It means the problem is probably happening unless you get this triangle smaller or you push those lines out. And we'll get to that. What's happening here? What do you think what do you think the little edges being down? That's the part the person can't adapt to, right? They can't adapt to that. So we got a problem developing. The problem is that's actually what we call a disease. Did you ever notice that the word disease is actually dis-ease? You're not at ease. Yeah, that's what a disease is. It's being not at ease. So what's not at ease is this. This is the condition out here. But you know what's fascinating about this? The person can still adapt to a lot. They just can't adapt to this. You can think of anything that could be. That could be an illness. That could be an anxiety attack. That could be a cancer. That could be, an allergy. Who knows? It's just the body's inability to adapt completely. Let's go to the next level. It's a little worse, huh? Wow. Triangle got bigger. Lines came together. This is a more serious situation. The worst. Complete inability to adapt, and tremendously high levels of stress. When your body can't adapt and your stress levels are high, what do you think happens? It's lights out. Yeah, you're done. That's why you're alive. You're alive to adapt, and when you can't adapt, you move on, and you move on from this planet. So, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to do? We're trying to do two things, really, right? Because if we go back, and this person hasn't died yet, what are the two ways to save them in terms of the chart, right? Increase their adaptability somehow, or decrease the physical, chemical, and emotional stress that they're under, so that they can get that somehow. It would have to be as small as this to fit inside that line, right? This is the next part I'm going to talk about. How can you do that? How can you shrink the triangle? How can you widen the gap? First of all, we got to find out what's my triangle size? Where am I at, right? Here's how you do it. You're going to look at this chart here and you're going to say, oh, 0 is none, and 10 is high. That's a 0 to 10 scale, all right? Physical stress. All right, what is physical stress? Physical stress is what's happening to you and how you move. Like a tremendous amount of physical stress would be like a hockey player, a football player, an iron worker, someone that's just physically getting beat up every single day in their job, all right? That's physical stress. But believe it or not, sitting all day long, you know what we call that? We call that the new smoking. Statistics are showing that sitting is just as bad as smoking cigarettes. Yeah. Anybody got one of these? What's it telling you every hour to do? Stand up, right? Breathe. You got all those things those little reminders you can turn on. Yeah, because if you just stand up, it's really helpful for you. Side point, standing up. Some people, does anybody here have a stand-up desk? Okay, here's what I want you to do when you go back. This is a huge problem I'm seeing lately, and it's people sitting down. No, I'll just pretend. And my computer's here, and I'm like this. And what's that look like? It looks like I'm a kid up walking around text messaging. And what do you look like when you're 90 and you've been doing that your whole life? You look like this. Crossing the street, and you're sitting there at the light going, what happened to that person? Wow. So physical stress. Emotional stress. That could be a lot of different things, right? Our finances, our love life, our self-esteem, experiences, what's happening to us, loss of loved ones, there's all kinds of things to deal with. So rate yourself. Chemical stress, what is that? That's what we're exposed to and what we put into our bodies. I had a patient, was it this year or last year? Yeah, it is last year. He came in, and I've been working on it for many, many years. And every single year we have to update the medications that a person is on. And this guy broke the record, most I've ever seen a human being taking per day. He was on 19 medications. And I told him, I said, your doctor doesn't care about you. He's like, what? I said, no, your doctor doesn't care about you because you cannot be on 19 medications. You can't. You are an absolute toxic disaster. You're not going to live very long. And I'm telling you straight up, as hard as it is for me to tell you something, telling you straight up, you've got to go back and talk to him, and you've got to get it down under 10, and you've got to get under 5, and you've got to figure out, because this is not good. He died. He was like 52, just retired, bought a brand new Corvette. It was the saddest thing. I was mad, I was sad, I was, God, who does that? It's just, his chemical stress was as high as it can possibly be. So, if you're out back smoking crack, you're a 10, all right? So let's not do that. So add these up, do it in your mind. Okay, all right, what's my physical stress? Give yourself a score, give yourself an emotional score, give yourself a chemical score, add it all up, total out of 30, right? If you're a 30, okay, breathe slow, relax, release, okay. But if you're below 10, wow, fantastic, that's great. Here's how we shrink our triangle. This is the only nuts and bolts I'm going to honestly talk about. And it's going to be quick. What can we do? For the physical, we got to exercise. We got to strength train. We got to improve our posture. We got to move our bodies with regularity. And we got to move properly, carefully, those kinds of things, right? Did you know that your immune system is completely dependent on your movement? You want to kill somebody, don't let them move. Don't let them move. If you chain somebody down and they cannot move, it will absolutely destroy their immune system because your white blood cells move out through your body in your blood, but they also move through your lymph channels. And that happens only by movement. Reduce our chemical stress. How can we do that? Improve our eating. Improve the quality of food that we eat. Eat nutrient-dense food, whole foods. Increase our plant-based foods that we eat. Look for chemical-free, natural and unprocessed foods. Things you can grow that grew in the ground. Things that that haven't been touched. Reduce your exposure to toxicity. Start reading labels, people. If you can't, just because you don't understand what a word says on a label doesn't mean you can't Google it. We live in a day and age where there's absolutely no excuse for not knowing something. And yes, there's fake news, and yes, there's fake information on the internet, but you're smart enough to Google 3, 4, 5 different places and figure it out. You can do it. You can figure out what a chemical is. You can figure out what's doing to you. Eat clean. It's critical. Reduce our emotional stress by improving our thoughts. Learn to relax, worry less, meditate, pray. Improve our self-esteem, outlook, improve our relationships. Live in the moment and be balanced. I love making up quotes. These are a couple that just go along with the emotional side of the triangle here. Is we have no power in the future. All power is in the present moment. If you think about your entire life, how stressful is that? There's a lot of things that have happened in your entire life. But if you think about the last 3 seconds, pretty easy. So, what's that tell you? Live in the moment. Enjoy the day. Be thankful, You cannot heal in the same environment where you got sick, so if you got sick here, you gotta leave. That's a vague statement. So a lot of people tell me, well, Dr. I have no idea. I can't meditate. I didn't even know how to relax. I go to a massage and I'm nervous. Okay, you don't know how? Go to our website. We already did it for you. Let's see. Click on guided imagery, woodschiropractic.com, by the way. Click on guided imagery. This will pop open. You're going to hear me talk for 22 minutes. I'm going to teach you how to meditate. Meditating is actually really pretty simple. Once you listen to, I think you can listen to this 3 times for free, then it's $1. Whoop-de-doo, $1 for the rest of your life. You get to learn how to meditate. It's awesome. What this does in guided imagery is I guide you through things that you can see in your mind's eye, so you can learn to realize that your thoughts can control your body. You can relax yourself. That's what it's designed to do. We have the other sides of the triangle covered in our office too. In our team, we have an athletic trainer on staff. So if that you need coaching in that, we've got that. Massage therapist for body work. We have a person who can do energy work, quantum touch, nutritional counseling. Like I said, there, all 3 sides of the triangle are covered because that's lifestyle care. That's the problem. See, all these illnesses that we're dying of in this country, or in the world really, most of them are lifestyle, especially in first world countries. It's lifestyle. I mean, let's take a look, right? Cancer caused, nominated by the patients, and then contribution of lifestyle factors. Smoking, chemical, stress, emotional, lack of exercise, physical, smoking, chemical, these are lifestyle things. It's all, it's our fault, right? It's our fault. Suck it up. You gotta do something, or you're not going to live very comfortably, happily, or well. Heart disease, cancers, lower respiratory. Those are all lifestyle. Commonly caused by alcohol, drug, smoking abuse, lack of physical activity, unhealthy eating, diseases that impact our lifestyle, heart disease, stroke, obesity, and type 2 diabetes. Here's the interesting paradox. We talked about the stresses of life, physical, chemical, and emotional. It's the same 3 things that make you well. Yeah, if you improve your physical life, you improve your chemical life, and you improve your emotional life, the triangle gets smaller and you go towards wellness, right? That'll reduce the triangle, but there's one more piece to the combination solution. How can we widen the gap? The ability to adapt is regulated by the nervous system. We already said that, right? To improve adaptability, we need to improve our nervous system. We need to remove interference to function or flow. You live your life through your nervous system. You know what that means? Like we said in the very beginning, all that data is coming in. All the decisions about what you're experiencing, consciousness, all that is decision making by your brain and your nervous system. Your reality is your reality. So you live your life through your nervous system. That's the first thing that decides, what's happening right now. What do I do? Ooh, is that dangerous? Do I run away? Should I change my heart rate? Is it time for me to go to sleep? Everything is controlled by the nervous system. Can you think of anything more important to take care of than your nervous system? Our experience in life is based on our nervous system's interpretation of the environment and how we respond to that. You're going to need to improve your nervous system if you're going to widen the gap. If you're going to work on one part of the thing, all right, let's get the triangle small. But if it can't fit in that gap, doesn't matter how good the triangle is. If you don't widen the gap in your adaptability, you won't adapt and you're going to still not be well. This is what we do in our office. We use some equipment called an Insight. The Insight scanner actually measures a few things so we can determine what your adaptability level is. A great way to determine adaptability in human beings is heart rate variability. Let me explain that really quick. Your brain is controlling your heart rate, but your heart beats somewhat on its own. But the brain is constantly there saying, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. It's constantly making changes, right? There's almost like a little speed dial that the brain has on the heart. The more often your brain is adjusting that dial, the better you're adapting, the healthier you are. If your heart rate just stays right on, it just never changes beats, it's just perfect, danger, watch out. There's studies that show that people's heart rates who don't change are very close or imminent to having one because they're not adapting. So a great way to measure that is with heart rate variability. We do that with this guy back here. We measure the person's pulse for 3 minutes, and we see how variable their heart rate is. We can tell if a person is in sympathetic or parasympathetic. You might not know what that means, but basically sympathetic is fight or flight. It means that you're in a state of fight or flight. Has anyone here ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack? It's pretty common. Many people have it. It's not comfortable. It does not feel good. Your heart is racy. You feel sweaty. Everything's tense. You're in fight or flight. That's something that our bodies and our brains and our nervous systems are evidence that it's evolved. Something that's happened over many years. We've learned to tense up, move blood to different places, raise our heart rate, make our pupils get small, because there was a saber-toothed tiger behind me that was going to eat me. So all these functions started happening, what we call sympathetic functions, started happening so that I could escape. That's the fight or flight reflex, right? It's supposed to happen. It's just like vomiting from the tequila. It's healthy. Here's the problem. What happens if it doesn't go away? What happens if day in, day out, the saber-toothed tiger is right behind you? It's not good. It's not good. We do another thing called a thermal scan. The thermal scan is this guy up here. Basically, that's another way to measure the autonomic nervous system, so we can tell if a person is in fight or flight or if they're in rest and digest. That's the other side of the coin. SEMG is surface electromyography. That measures tone and posture. That's this guy up here. We can basically tell how tight your muscles are, what your posture looks like. These tests here are completely safe. It's about as risky as putting a thermometer in your mouth and get an answer in about 3 minutes. Pretty simple. That's me showing a patient their results. So this is what we say. We don't guess, we test. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Recognize that guy, right? Thomas Edison. We love, the chiropractors love this quote because he said this so long ago, and this is kind of the philosophy of chiropractic, is that we focus on the restoration of health through improved function, physically and neurologically, to help the body heal itself. Here's some research. Some people, you say chiropractic, people say, I don't need chiropractic, my back doesn't hurt, my neck doesn't hurt. But there's so many other benefits to chiropractic because you're taking pressure off the nervous system. You're not just treating back pain. This study shows it right here. And one study published in the Journal of JVSR, for vertebral subluxation, researchers found that chiropractic care can reduce oxidative stress in the body. You can read all this stuff if you want, but this is as a result, the nervous system can become impaired and create disturbances in nerve function, which may further promote oxidative damage and damage to our cells' DNA healing powers. Dr. Kent concludes from the study that chiropractic care appears to improve the ability of the body to adapt to stress. Kind of a nice little thing that happens when you get a chiropractic adjustment. Who's had an adjustment here before? Some people. Yeah, good. Consider it. If not, this is a patient getting adjusted. A lot of people are afraid that it's going to be too rough. It's pretty gentle. It's pretty surprising, and most people walk out pretty happy. But it's a process. It's not an overnight fix. Shrinking your triangle is not going to happen today. It's going to happen a millimeter at a time. Raising your body's ability to adapt is going to happen over time. It's like, if you go to the chiropractor 3 visits and you're disappointed, this is what I tell patients. I say, well, did you go to the gym 3 times and then you're more happy? It's because it's a process. We're trying to make a change. It's not the same philosophy as medicine. Medicine's philosophy is different, and because their philosophy is different, it's not unusual to have 2 visits. But chiropractic is a process. If you can't be happy with the journey, you're not going to be happy with the destination. In the short run, man appears smart. In the long run, nature appears smart. Learn to trust nature. That's my website, woodschiropractic.com. You can look us up on there. Contacts, those kind of things. Any questions?